Welcome to BIV Today. I'm reporter Tyler Orton, and today with us, it is John Hepburn. He is the CEO and scientific director of Mitacs. It's a nonprofit dedicated to solving business challenges across Canada. Now, it's a national organization, but its head office is at the University Endowment Lands next to Vancouver. And John joins us to discuss a new initiative pairing up business students with companies hit hard by the pandemic. John, I just want to thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Well, thanks for your interest. This is it's a good program, so I'm happy to talk about it.
Well, let's talk about this Mitacs Business Strategy Initiative. It's deploying students, notably from UBC Sauder School of Business, to certain employers. How does this program work, and what is the problem that you guys are trying to address right now?
Well, I'll answer that question by going back to the beginning of the program. So basically, after the pandemic hit and we all got over our panic about how we were going to work from home and things like that, Bob Helsley, who's a former colleague, I mean, I'm still notionally a faculty member at University of British Columbia. Bob Helsley got in touch, the dean of the Sauder School, in late April and said, look, we've got a problem. We have a lot of very smart business students, and we've got a lot of small and medium enterprises that are, the small and medium enterprises don't quite know how to respond to what's going on around them. Not just the pandemic, but the economic collapse is too strong a word, but the economic troubles, the need to pivot in the pandemic environment. And I think that our business students could help, is Bob Helsley speaking. And would you be willing, Mitacs, to partner with us on a sort of a cost sharing basis to put smart business students into small and medium enterprises to help them develop a business strategy so that they can, not just survive, but prosper in the current environment and what follows. So I said, great idea. Let's give it a shot. And we can probably do this with a couple of dozen students. We have some resources, you have resources. Let's give it a try. The very next day, of course, we got the announcement from Ottawa that we were being given a lot of federal money, largely to help prevent a lost generation of students. Again, because of the pandemic, because of the economic slowdown. And so we had money. And so we made the program national. It went from being what a clever idea we can do with Sauder School to being, let's do this as a national program. And we're on track to place more than 1,000 of these students this year, which is not bad considering that the program didn't exist before May this past year.
I'm thinking about it. I graduated in 2007, so it was a year ahead of the financial crisis, but I had a year head start on getting that work experience, building up my resume, even though there was uncertain economic times that I didn't know were going to be ahead for me at least. But what is the feeling amongst a lot of these students when they are in school and there's a lot of economic uncertainty right now?
Well, my youngest son is a PhD student, so I'll tell you from his point of view, there's a great deal of uncertainty. There's a great deal of concern, stress, depression, whatever level of angst you want to go to. And it is for the obvious reasons. I mean, these people have graduated or will graduate into a very uncertain environment. We know there's been a tremendous job loss in some sectors. And then in other sectors, there's been job growth. So it's how do we navigate this? And, Mitacs is very proud of our ability to help give students the connections and the training they need to adapt to changes in the economy, to be part of the innovation economy. And that's what this business strategy internship is all about. It's one aspect of what we do. It's a new thing for us, but we're going to place 17,000 interns this year. So,
wow. So obviously these are companies that have this need, that they have this desire to be able to pivot and to adapt to what's going on. Is there such thing as like a typical company that is going to be matched up with a student? Is it from kind of a broad spectrum of different sectors?
It's from a very broad spectrum of different sectors. We've helped restaurants. We've helped, obviously tech companies. We've helped. Basically, Mitacs is agnostic. We're interested in helping companies innovate. And most of our business, frankly, is with small and medium companies. More than 70% of the companies we deal with are small and medium enterprises. A lot of them are small enterprises, meaning there are 50 or fewer people. So this program is designed. I mean, we don't need to send business students. I mean, we're happy to send business students to TELUS, but we don't need to. I mean, they can afford their own, they can hire consultants, they can get KPMG to come in and help them. We're talking about small companies that they can't afford to get KPMG to come in and help them develop a new business strategy.
So for the students coming in, what are the expectations? Are they there to kind of deliver kind of that breath of fresh air into the company's new ideas? Are there very specific parameters about what their duties might entail?
Yeah, there are specific parameters in the sense that they need to retain their contact with the sort of research and academic firepower back at their home institution. So in other words, it's not a job placement where the student leaves their post-secondary institution and goes and works with the company for 4 months and then goes back to school. Of course, that's partly what they do. But the internship is supervised by an academic supervisor. There's a connection with the broader talent base if it's a business school at the university. And so it's simultaneously helping the company solve its problems. It's training the student, and it's creating a connection back to the university for, further work if necessary. Other students will go in. Often our interns will work for longer than 4 months. They'll go back or they'll stay for longer than 4 months. So it's basically giving the company through the student access to a broader knowledge base, which exists at the post-secondary institution. So it's not just a job, single company, single student. It's a bit bigger than that.
Is there like a local example? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but if not local, like what would be an example of one of these initiatives that you feel is just kind of really exemplifying what you guys are trying to accomplish here?
Now you're putting me on the spot. So I'm looking at my notes. You'll forgive me, but
of course.
Here we go. Here's a solder student who was doing a master's of management. And he went to he was actually going to work with a local consulting firm, Visa Global, doesn't matter, but and then the position couldn't be funded because the pandemic hit. The companies were terrified of their cash flow and their cash reserves, and so it looked like his internship was going to be lost with this company. This program, the BSI, came, and it was exactly to help companies like this small company. And so the internship was saved because the company was now getting subsidized by the BSI program. Student benefited, the company benefited. So it was essentially to help the company with both online strategy and also with equity, diversity, and inclusion. This is an obvious and necessary big concern these days. And so the student was able to help them with both of those things. So that gives a flavor of what we do, but I know that we have, and I was looking for it on my notes, but I know that we have worked with restaurants to help them pivot. I mean, the restaurants obviously had to pivot enormously. So how do they go from being an in-person sit-down service, fully packed, to doing online catering and food delivery, right? Things like that. And so, not-for-profits we've worked with. So across the board, we've been helping people, but it's all about, okay, suddenly the world has changed. How do we develop a strategy to cope with the world changing, right? In other words, do something that's quite different from what we've been doing up until now.
So I'm just always curious about the mechanics of things as well. If I'm a business, if I'm a student, how do these companies and these individuals come together? Like, is there kind of a specific process involved here?
The current process, because it had to get set up in a big hurry, because as I say, I had the conversation with Bob Helsley in late April, and in May we were launching the program. I mean, within 4 weeks we were, trying to place students. So that was done in partnership with the business schools. And so we reached out to business schools across the country and signed agreements with dozens of them. We allocated a certain number of these internship slots to the universities, to the business schools, and then we let them reach out to their local businesses and figure out where we're, good students to match with companies that needed help. This program, given funding and government permission, because of course we do things with taxpayers' dollars in addition to the matching funds from industry. If we're allowed to continue this program, and we're very optimistic that we will into the coming year, it will be more of an application-driven process where companies, Mitacs operates with business development professionals. We have more than 80 of them coast to coast, like literally from St. John's, Newfoundland, on through to Victoria, British Columbia. And so these people go out, talk to companies, see what their issues are, what their problems are, and how we can help them. And this is just, we've been doing it for 20 years now. And this is just it's a new aspect of how we can help companies innovate. So it's new for us, but it uses the old formula is we talk to companies, try and understand what their problems are. So we don't start by saying, hey, how'd you like to hire an intern? We say, how can we help you? We're here to help. And the business development people then connect the company with an appropriate academic researcher, and a student is identified who can basically work in partnership with the company and the university. So that's our basic model, and that's what we'll be going forward with. Right now, the business strategy internships are done through agreements with the business schools, but we're going to broaden the program. We're already talking with law schools about doing the same thing for intellectual property strategy, talking with marketing departments about marketing strategies. So it's going to be a broader program, we hope, with government support. But yeah, and then companies can come looking for the help they need.
I find it, look, I'm not saying anything mind-blowing when I say it's a very unique time right now, but it is fascinating that there's all these accelerations of business trends. We all had to learn how to work from home almost overnight if we weren't doing so before. What do you think about kind of these opportunities that even in these uncertain times, students are getting to work with these companies, help them with these accelerating trends, help inject new ideas? It just seems kind of such a unique opportunity that they're getting right now.
It's a unique opportunity, but more important, it's a necessary opportunity. We do a lot of our work with advanced students, masters, PhD, postdoctoral students. That's been our core business for a long time, and most of the interns that we place are that level. Even the business students are like the one that I talked about, masters of business administration. Or MBA students. The question is, are these students being trained for the sort of jobs that they're going to get? And the typical PhD student is often trained to become a professor, even though most PhD graduates will not become university professors. They'll work in industry, they'll work for government, they'll work for a not-for-profit. And so we view our role at Mitacs as twofold. It's to give these students the extra skill, the extra professional skills they need so that they can work in a non-academic environment. And also through promoting innovation in companies, we're trying to create new jobs, more jobs for students. Canada is not definitely punching way below its weight in innovation. We know that. And, the endless reports get written on why is Canada, so bad at innovation in our companies. We've got plenty of academic firepower. We've got great students. We've got lots of government money being spent on innovation. And part of the problem is that the companies just they don't realize sometimes the value of innovation. And Mitacs counts it as a great success when we send a PhD student out for an internship to solve a problem in a company, and they suddenly realize, wow, what a great addition to our workforce this PhD student was, even though it was on a temporary basis. And then maybe they hire that PhD student permanently because they realize that innovation is actually, and we know this, but we don't practice it. Innovation is the path to productivity and economic prosperity.
Like I said, a lot of uncertainty right now, but I think it's just kind of great for us to shine the spotlight on these initiatives that are coming out of the pandemic and meant to kind of, businesses aren't going to change fundamentally, and it's good if we can have these young people right there on the ground with all of this. But for now, John, I just want to thank you for joining us today on BIV Today.
Thank you very much for the interest. Pleasure to talk to you.
Excellent. That's John Hepburn. He is the Mitacs CEO and Scientific Director, and that is it for the show today. We will be back tomorrow, but until then, I'm Tyler Orton, and thank you for listening.